All right. We're going to go from 10th. We have 10 teams. We're going to go from 10th all the way to 1st. We're going to talk about the team's strengths, team's weaknesses, and then just any stand-up players or like anything noteworthy that needs to be brought up. You gentlemen ready?
Ready as I can be.
Happy days. Alrighty. In 10th predicted placing, we have, drumroll, Hen House. So they're predicted 10th. They got 4 prediction points and 17 balance points. So the balance points is like that system we were just talking about with Popeyes, about how they like the limits on like building teams. So the cap is 23 and this team's at 17 points. So they're definitely like,
This is the bottom team, right? Like in balance points, I mean.
Yeah.
I believe, just for reference, this is probably the strongest bottom team we've ever had.
I would very much agree with that.
Points,
Yeah. What was interesting, I'll show like all of our predictions at the end, but for this one, obviously, like I don't know the New Zealand scene very well, but even between Popeyes, Traders, and Annie did like her little sinks list thing as well. Between all of those things, everyone's predictions were like completely different. But the only things that were the same were like the bottom 3 teams' predictions. Actually, everything else is like wildly different. The last few predictions we've done, people might have a team swapping, or maybe 2 spots max. But this one is like teams are all over the shop. So this is very interesting predictions. But and the prediction points is just very simple system. First place is worth, like a predicted first place is worth 10 points, and then you go all the way down, and then 10th place is worth 1 point. Makes sense? So anyway, Hen House, predicted 10th, 4 prediction points, 17 balance points. We have Rooster, Cyberant, Sea Dog. Is that ACO or ACO? How would you say that?
That'll be Echo.
ACO and IBB. I have no idea who any of these players are. So someone, talk a little bit about the Hen House.
It's mostly Dunedin team, so Connor can probably fill us in.
Fire away.
Right. So this team does have a couple of players who have been to a Ziltec or 2. Rooster might have come under the name of Nat Queen and Cyberants on the New Zealand team a few years back. So I do have that sort of experience, but I just think that as a whole, this team doesn't quite have the pack skill or the experience that these other teams do have. So I can see them struggling to get points against these other stronger teams.
Yeah, and I guess that'll be Helios 2 babies, so there'll also be... would you say these players are ones that haven't played H Pro before, other than Cyberant and Rooster, maybe?
Correct, actually. Or I believe IBB would have pro experience. But he's from Auckland. He's a site up for Silverdale.
Oh, okay.
But right. Sea Dog and Echo have basically... They'll be coming into this brand new to Helios Pro. So it'll be quite an experience for them to see how quickly they adjust to that.
They'll be like, oh my god, no one can tag my phaser ever. This is great. What would you say some strengths of this team would be? Or how do you reckon they should be looking to play if they want to snag some wins off of the teams above them and maybe climb up a couple spots?
I'd say that, honestly, it'll have to be Rooster and Cyberant really knowing how to take charge of the situation and just using their knowledge to be able to capitalize. And I think that if they can take advantage of the fact that other teams will just write them off, maybe they can get some wins and sneak them in,
And, I guess leading into that next question, who are the players that are going to stand out, are going to really rise to the occasion, this Invites on this team? You already kind of mentioned Rooster and Cyberant, but are we expecting any big things from the other players?
Well, I imagine that Sea Dog would do quite well. So they are an up-and-coming player. They were one of the star E players from last Invites. They came on the second place team, I believe.
Yeah.
And Echo is another player who's actually gotten really nice practice in. They've got some really good defense and some great comms. They are a little excessive at times, but they are still very great comms nonetheless. So I would expect these players to be utilized very effectively by the 2, I guess, leaders of the team.
Yeah. Awesome. I'm realizing now I probably should have put like the A to E rankings of the players next to the names. But anyway, that's for next invites, I guess. Popeyes, have you got anything to add on the Hen House?
Yeah, I mean, probably for me, similar sort of story. Sea Dog kind of kicked ass last year. He was a big star in Aaron's team, who came second. Actually, I believe Rooster was on that same team. And then having this side up obviously has its advantages as well.
Yeah.
He's been around forever, so he's not going to be. Well, I mean, he's a pretty rusty sort of a player, but he's at least he knows what's up, right? You tell him to do something, he's probably going to be able to at least know what you mean and not get lost. So it should be pretty good for them.
Just quickly, I never actually heard of the Silverdale site. So has that been a site that's been around for ages, and like who comes from there?
Yeah, so that's actually a very interesting one. I'll probably talk more about this at Invites itself, but the site up for this one, a guy named Wayne, he is the original North Shore guy. So if your memory goes back far enough, we used to call ourselves North Shore Cobras. He is one of Auckland. Auckland has always had it's more combined now, but back in the day, it sort of started at two sites at once. So there was the North Shore guys and there was the Mount Wellington guys. So they're like a lot of all the original Cobras are North Shore, and then players like Annie, Ace, Fred, and that they're like Mount Wellington, right? So Wayne is the guy who used to own North Shore. It closed down in like 2016, and he's reopened in Silverdale, which is 20 minutes north. And he's actually the guy he's the guy we started Laser Sports New Zealand. We started at his site. He's the guy who got us into a ton of. He's the guy who got us all into Zone, all those us North Shore guys. So it's really cool to be finally hosting this at his site.
Yeah, so he guy's a bit of a legend, huh?
He's like half of the picture in Auckland, of the legendary side ups, yeah.
What was the last Nats you attended? Because I've only been playing since 2015, like Nats since 2015, and I don't remember seeing him. I'm not sure if he's played.
I'm not sure if he's played any of the ones I've played, but he was like the guy who told us, when we'd come to day passes, and he'd be like, they play in Australia and stuff. And he organised. You remember before we had maybe you don't remember, but before we had the Laser Sports New Zealand Invitationals, we had a couple of other invitationals that was organised for those guys, and those were like cross-site in Auckland. Like the first one was in 2008 and stuff. So he's been
I was 7 back then.
Yeah, there's players in this tournament who were born after I started playing Laser Tag.
Yeah, that's wild. Sorry, I'm an awful multitasker. All right, I'm here. I'm back. Hello. Yeah. Any last final thoughts for the Hen House before we move on to our 9th place team?
I'm sure they will upset at least one 23-point team.
Exactly. I'll also place my money on that.
Yeah, so they're a team that we could definitely see. Do you reckon you could see them placing like 1 or 2 spots higher than they are predicted?
For sure, yeah.
Absolutely. I honestly think, especially this year, I think this year is relatively close compared to previous years. This is going to be quite tough invites, I think.
Yeah, for sure. It's the hardest one.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I can see teams like being wildly different from these predictions.
Well, yeah, I mean, all of our predictions were widely different, so I think if that's not an indicator of that, then I don't know what it is.
Last year, pretty much every Dunedin player was massively overperforming, and it's hard to know how much of that was like H2 home site versus they trained right through COVID and we didn't.
Yeah.
So it could be the same story again. It could be all the Dunedin players come up and are dominating once again, or it could be the other way around. It could be the Auckland players have the advantage, right? Because it's home site.
Yeah. Well, we'll find out next week, huh?
Yeah.
Is it start Friday or Thursday? Or neither of those?
Friday.
I believe.
All right, wicked. All right, let's move on. 9th place team, we have the Nameless. Pretty good ninth. They got 8 prediction points, so everyone unanimously between Trader, myself, Popeyes, and Annie Sinks placed them at 9th. And they have 20 balance points. Do you have a better name for that? I didn't really like that. Have you got a word?
What do we call them? We do call them something.
Grade points.
Yeah.
Grade points.
Point cap. I don't know. I think we just call them points, honestly.
Yeah, I was going to just put points, and then I was like,
we just say like 23 point. We normally just call them like 23 point team, 20 point team, whatever.
Right.
As with 7, yeah.
Anyway, it's all neither here nor there.
It's fine, yeah.
On the team, we have Insomnia. Someone want to pronounce that for me?
Dickiopoulos.
Dickiopoulos. Thank you. Paxo, Boo, and Nitro. Again, apologies if some of these players have been to Nats before, but I don't recognize any of those names. Someone please tell me all about them.
I'm pretty sure Nitro has been to Nats. Yeah, she definitely went to Bendigo. She definitely went to Brisbane. One of those players that's been around forever, but not always fully in the scene.
Yeah.
She's been coming back lately, so that's good to see. Actually, there has been a change in this team lineup.
Oh, okay, yeah. I did hear there was a change, actually. Who is it?
Yeah, so Boo has pulled out.
Mm-hmm.
And we have a very interesting replacement.
Yeah.
We were scrambling to find a new guy. And actually, I recently was talking to the site operator for Invercargill. And I randomly thought, maybe this guy will be keen. So he is a true E. This was his first time meeting anyone from the community. But he said, yeah, I'll book flights and he's keen. He's booked flights, he's booked hotels on a week's notice. He's come up. So he's like the perfect site up, right? Like if he's this keen. We've organised an event down at his site already, and that was super easy to organise. So it's probably a bit of a downgrade for the team, unfortunately. But for the community, it's so cool to have another side op that's that keen.
That's so good. What does he have a name or an alias or anything, or just?
I did know.
The name.
I believe his name is also Cameron, and his alias is Big Boss Dog.
Big. Well, at the very least, I'll just put that there for now.
Yeah, fair enough.
Man, that's really cool. I think getting your side ops invested and involved and keen about the sport is massive. So that's really awesome for you guys. And if you can start building up a third site like you've done Dunedin, that'll be crazy cool. Whereabouts is that? Because Mount Wellington is South Island, is it?
So Dunedin is the very bottom of the site. I mean, Invercargill is the very bottom. So you go to Dunedin, you drive south for 2-3 hours.
Right. My New Zealand geography is not there at all. I should probably brush up on that at some point. But wait, from the bottom to the top, where are the sites?
So you've got Invercargill right at the bottom.
Yeah.
You go up a bit, you've got Dunedin.
Yeah.
And that's it for the South Island, right? And then age is up. We've got Auckland, and in Auckland we've got Mount Wellington, North Shore, a few other sites, but those are Silverdale now, right? Mount Wellington, Silverdale.
So much laser tag in New Zealand. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's growing for sure.
Happy days. Anyway, let's talk about this team for a bit. So is this a Dunedin team again? You said with Big Boss Dog?
So
Nitro's in Auckland, but yeah.
So this is primarily a Dunedin team with Insomnia, Dickiopoulos, and Paxo making up the core of the team.
Mm-hmm.
And they've been doing a lot of good training recently in our league nights. They've actually been doing a lot of defense. They've actually been practicing the format, knowing what to do and all those things. They haven't been practicing with reloads, but hopefully that won't be too much of an issue for them. And I will say that Dickiopoulos is a player that knows how to get a lot of value out of these lower ranked players. Last year, they were able to make a really impressive run up the ladder and actually make it into the last golden game to get into finals. Right. So it was really impressive for them. And I wouldn't be surprised if they were able to do it again this year.
The team they had last year was worth a lot less than 20 points as well, wasn't
exactly.
it?
I think it was like a 7-point team in terms of balance.
Yeah, I mean, I guess this team wouldn't be a 20 point team anymore, would it? It would be like 19
Yeah,
or
I think
18 now, right?
They would have lost.
I believe it'll be
they
a
would've lost at least
17-point team.
Yeah.
So we could we see, if you were to redo your predictions for just these two teams, would you now swap Hen House and Nameless? Or are they still kind of pretty
It's still
competitive
a
with each
coin
other?
toss, I think.
I'd still be willing to place the Nameless above the Hen House, although I would be closer. So something that even Popeyes might not be privy to, but both Insomnia and Dicopolis actually travelled down to Invercargill today to actually meet up with Cameron,
Yeah, I didn't know
the
that.
site op, actually have a chat, like, you know, have a few games, see what they like. And they seemed very high on him actually as a player. Like, obviously still at E, doesn't familiar with a lot of the rules such as covering and base evac rules and such like that. Exactly. Who needs rules, you know?
Not me.
But other than that, like, they seemed quite high up on him. So I think he'll hopefully perform well.
Yeah. So in terms of strengths and weaknesses for this team, what are the glaring obvious ones?
So for me, I'd actually say their strength is their surprising amount of... They've got really good offensive on... Their overall pack strength is higher than what other people would rate them. So Insomnia, Dicopolis, and Paxo are all in Dunedin quite good at the pack game. They know how to get the pack. They know where the farm spots are. So if they're able to do the same thing in Silverdale, I can actually just see them straight out packing some of the lower ranked teams in the maze and getting wins that way.
All right. And in terms of weaknesses, what do you think? What do you see the downfall for this team being?
So, in terms of a weakness for them, I'd say just honestly a lack of big sort of experience compared to a lot of the other teams. So they do have people who have been around for the invite scene for quite a while. Like Insomnia and Dicopolis have been playing for as long as I've been playing, which is like 2016. So they are the two that have the experience on the team, but only Dicopolis have been really in that sort of captain position, and Insomnia is going to be taking the helm this year from what I've heard. So hopefully he's able to get some guidance from Dicopolis, but we'll see how that goes for them.
Happy days. Popeyes, have you got any parting thoughts for the Nameless before we move on?
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they do on Helios Pro. I actually think the Twins do have pro experience. Did they come to Christchurch with us that time? And then also, Connor hasn't really mentioned Nitro as an Auckland player. She's a solid pickup. She's been around for ages. She'll fit pretty seamlessly into whatever they're trying to do.
Which ones are the Twins?
They'll be Insomnia and Dicopolis.
Yeah, right. And they're going to be leading the charge, huh?
You'd hope so, yes.
Do they have some kind of freaky deaky, like, telepathic communication? You know what I'm saying? Because I have seen that before.
When I started, that's what we thought. It seemed to have that really good synergy. But I think that now they've just sort of developed being really good with other players as well. So
yeah,
it's been a long time since they've been on an actual team together. In fact, I'm not even sure if they have been on a team together, come to think of it. So yeah, this will be really interesting to see how well they're able to actually perform now that they're playing together at an Invites.
Are they identical twins or just twins?
Yes, they are identical twins. So it'll be really interesting. So they're actually coming on my team on the Raptors to Ziltak. So really cool to see how the Aussies deal with the twin problem.
Yeah, there's a Queensland team as well. They came to it's LT Noodle and Pug Salad. They came to Pre-Nuts 1, another pair of like identical twins that are starting playing. Yeah, that'll be interesting. It'll just make for a lot of awkward conversations, I think, because you have to kind of ask like which one are you every time.
Yeah, so for the first 2 or 3 years, it was to the point where they started getting a little irritated because everyone would just start calling out twin instead of like their name or their alias because you couldn't tell them like at a glance.
That's funny. That's good. Queen is saying we have to get all the twins to meet, and I agree. We have identical twins in Adelaide as well.
Imagine that team.
Yeah, we'll put all of them on the same team, and it'll be chaos. But I'm all for it. Yeah, I don't think Have they? I can't remember any identical twins that have been at Zoltak like since like 2015. You can correct me
I
if I'm
can't
wrong,
think of any.
Popeyes.
I
And
can't think
now
of any, but
in the 1 year, we're getting bam 3 pairs. Obviously, SSG or Rebecca from Adelaide played Bendigo, but her sister Nicola hadn't. So they're finally and they're going to be on the same team. My goodness, that's crazy. What are the odds of that? Anyway, do we have any parting thoughts for the Nameless before we move on to our 8th place team? Happy
I
Nick.
actually expect, like, we didn't really talk about the sides for the Hen House as well, but I'll say for the Nameless at least, I can actually see both Insomnia and Decapolis doing well in various side events. Same with, for the Hen House, Cyberants. I'd say Cyberants the standout player for them there.
yeah, for sure.
All right. Keep an eye out for these guys in side events. And yeah, best of luck to the Nameless. Looking forward to seeing how you guys go. Right. Moving on to our 8th place team, we have drumroll. Troubleshooters. This is the last of the teams that we all unanimously predicted the same. So they got 12 prediction points. They have 21 balance points, so the highest balance points thus far. Crazy how that works. And then on the team we have Arcane, Minty, Fred, Geestricity, and the BMW. Popeyes, I'll let you talk about these guys first. So yeah, just kind of talking about strengths, weaknesses,
Sure.
stand-up players, and what we might expect from these guys.
Yeah, so it's crazy. Like, it's actually crazy to see a 21-point team predicted bottom 3. It's the first thing I'll say, and it sort of is a bit of a preview for the rest of the teams. 21-point team. Like, I was on a 21-point team with Connor last year, and we came third. So yeah, it's crazy, and these guys could pack way higher than 8th. You've got Arcane and Fred, so teammates from back in the day, right? They won Zeltak. Obviously, Arcane Cobra. We've got Minty, who is an Auckland player who's been around forever. Huge pack skill, huge speed, bully of a player. He is probably your classic B player, as we were discussing before. He's got all the skills. If he played a bit more, he could push it to the next level. He definitely fits right in as a B in New Zealand. BMW, probably the most, one of the most recognizable names on here. He's been around, I don't know how long, longer than me, that's for sure. Coming all the way from WA.
It's an old fart.
He's played several of these invites. He was on the same team with me and Connor again last year, and he was a great player. Actually, I've only really played him against him before then. I never played on his team, and I think I underrated him a little bit on our team. But he was super reliable, crushing everything we asked him to do.
Yep.
Great teammate, no drama.
Agree on that.
Yeah, and then Geestricity. I'm not 100% sure who Geestricity is. I think it's one of the new players Annie has been bringing. Arcane, she's bringing quite a few new players lately. They're all, honestly, it's almost like the days of the E anchor was a little bit behind us. They all seem pretty good for E's compared to historical E's. So, yeah, definitely. I believe, I could be wrong. Could be someone I've never met, to be fair. But yeah, I don't know the aliases of all these new guys, so I'm assuming it's one of them anyway.
Annie just said, or Arcane said Jimmy. Does that ring a bell?
Oh, Jimmy, yeah, okay. Jimmy is like a baby Wolfpack player. He's tall, he's fast, he's thin, he's going places.
Not more of these bloody tall, lanky guys.
It's our first one.
It's not
quite,
fair.
but
Share him around.
yeah, he's No, he's a good pick, yeah, for sure. He's one of the E's people have been fighting over.
And what do you see being the shortcomings of this team?
Maybe they're lacking a little bit of firepower, but like Fred, Annie, BMW between them, they've got like a higher center than or higher Like they don't drop off as hard as some of the teams do. So I'm not sure. Like yeah, maybe. I don't know, I think it's a pretty good team. Like all these guys have trained in the arena as well, which a lot of the teams you can't say. Fred, he hasn't come back that much. But yeah, I think maybe they're lacking a clear leader, but I think there's plenty of people on there who can lead, and I think the rest of them will fall in. But for me, I'm not sure who would lead that team, and maybe like they're lacking a little bit of the top end firepower compared to the teams who have like 2 full A players on them.
In terms of if this team's wanting to jump up a spot or two, take some scalps off of the teams above them, what do you reckon they're going to need to do in the games?
Honestly, like they'll do it regardless at 21 points with this pool, but for them probably smart games. Just a couple of decisions at key moments, and you can easily win a game.
Connor, have you got any parting thoughts for troubled shooters before we move on?
What to say, I guess. Yeah, just basically reiterating what Popeye said, like just a few smart moments here and there could definitely see these guys projecting well ahead of where they are on the leaderboard. Because they definitely got the experience to do that. These are smart players.
Yeah, we'll see what happens, huh? Well, in terms of side events, are we expecting any big things from these guys?
I'm not sure who they're playing with.
I can see Arcane actually definitely making finals with Ace and Guinea on her triples.
And what triples format are you doing?
It'll be the same one that's at this Ziltec coming up, which is Elimination. Elimination is the de facto triples format that's run at Invites year after year. Yeah.
Fantastic stuff. So we might see Arcane with Guinea and Ace sounds like a super strong triples team. So I would be surprised to not see them doing very well. But we'll see what these other triples teams look like, huh?